You know, you've been getting in trouble a lot online. A lot of people have been saying that you have been interrupting a lot.
I didn't interrupt. I said, hey, America.
Lately.
You just interrupted him.
You just did it again. See? Wow.
Sorry.
Marital
Let me be
bliss
quiet
right here
and barefoot in
on
the kitchen back here.
thing. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Dear America podcast. This is the State of the Union recap episode. We knew this was coming. We talked about it on Monday's episode that today we were going to have a lot to talk about. Yeah. And boy, do we have so much to jump into. Obviously, the title of this thing is, I wanted to call it Pelosi Sucks, but apparently that is not good for the algorithms and downloads. So it's we titled it Pelosi is an Embarrassment, State of the Union recap. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to spend this episode kind of breaking down. I haven't seen a lot of State of the Unions because I'm only 33, but I've seen quite a few. A lot happened when I was a child, didn't really pay attention, but I've watched a lot in my adult years. I think it was one of the best State of the Unions I've ever. It could be one of the best ever.
Set the bar pretty high.
I'm not a crier. Everyone knows this who knows me.
You've become more of a crier lately.
Gosh, a little, but I was basically crying. I can say I've never thought in a million years I'd be crying at a State of the Union address.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with the leading up to the State of the Union. So there was all kinds of controversy before this thing even started. Yeah. So today is actually the day that the impeachment vote happens. And so everyone was talking about Donald Trump and how is he going to handle the impeachment thing. Well, a lot of people say, well, he's not even going to mention it because it's over. It's done with. The impeachment's not happening. That will be a video later on today, probably, when that happens. Either way, but the day before, the Iowa Caucus disaster happens.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Well, we haven't talked about that yet because that happened after we filmed Monday's episode. So the Iowa Caucus, for people who don't understand what that is, it's the first real test of how your campaign is performing and where you really stand. Depending on how you poll depends on a number of delegates that you get. Right? You need a certain amount of delegates to become the nominee for the party in which you're running in to run for president, okay? Donald Trump, so let's put it in perspective here. 2012, Obama currently held the record for turnout of the Iowa caucus for an incumbent president, all right? It was around 25,000 people voted, and he was rocking like 95% or something like that, of the vote. So Donald Trump comes in. Donald Trump gets over 30,000 people at not 95%, but 97.1%. Absolutely unheard of. I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's only 30,000 plus people. And I get that. It's a gauge, right? The Iowa caucus is used as a gauge. Where are you really at in your campaign? And all signs are pointing to it is going to be a very, very, very bad day for Democrats come November. It's going to be, it's not going to be good either way. So it comes time for the Democrat side. All right. Democrat side. And all of a sudden, no results at all. Like 0% reporting results of any kind. Nobody could figure out what was going on. Well, apparently the words on the street are nobody's ever really going to know, I don't think, what really happened. The Democratic Iowa caucus or whatever hired a new app company, an 18-month-old-ish.
Called Shadow.
Inc. Okay?
What?
Why you would hire a new app to do this, I don't know. But either way, and now it's even being rumored that the creator of that app or the owner or the CEO of it has ties to former Clinton cabinets or campaigns at that kind of thing. So
it's right up your alley, Jake.
Huge conspiracy stuff going on at this point. So what happened was they claimed that the apps crashed and they couldn't figure out what was going on. I saw videos of them flipping coins, saying that Buttigieg and Warren were tied. So they had to flip a coin to see who was going to get the delegates.
It's embarrassing.
You have to have.
Like, what are you doing?
But another thing. So people that don't realize how crazy that is, you have to have a certain percentage victory of votes to get the votes. That's why we have runoff elections. We just had one last year in Mississippi, Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Yep.
And the reason why is because she didn't win enough. She won, but she didn't win enough because there's a margin of error in there, right? So the fact that they're flipping a coin is insanity.
Yeah.
So basically what this means is when they were trying to recalculate and figure out what was going on, pretty much what that means is Bernie Sanders won.
Yes, exactly.
And you know that is going to be an electoral massacre.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing
Trump victory.
Yeah, a Trump victory. But not just a Trump victory. You know that it's going to be a complete and total bloodbath.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing you can do, recalculating means Sanders won, and now you're rigging it to try to get somebody else in the lead and in the front.
You feel would be best.
Who you feel.
What they accused Trump of doing.
Exactly the same thing they accused Trump of doing in 2016. All right. You cannot ask for a more just imploding type situation for the Democrats. Anyway, so that was the disaster that was the Iowa caucus the day before leading up into this. Mm-hmm. So here comes the State of the Union. Everybody's been talking about what's going to happen. You know, are there any protests going to take place? Blah, blah, blah. About 4 hours before, something big happens. But before we do that, let's get into a sponsor. When emergencies strike, you always see news stories of long lines of people and empty store shelves. We just published that Turning Point USA thing about Cuba. And yeah, I know I slipped up on the words. I don't care. I'm going through it because this is real stuff. We just published that Turning Point USA about being in Cuba,
it's really good.
And the long lines going for gas and no food and no water and all this other kind of stuff. So there's no need to be a part of that chaos and the possibility of having to deal with FEMA food lines. Those that know what's coming are using today to prepare. You should make a plan too. I already have by building an emergency food supply, and I trust and use my Patriot Supply. They are experts in emergency preparedness and have guaranteed 2-day delivery. Disasters won't wait. Neither should you. This week, save $70 on a 2-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithgraham.com. My Patriot Supply food kits last up to 25 years in storage and include breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Order a few today and receive guaranteed 2-day delivery discreetly to your door. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save $70. Those that know what's coming are preparing right now. Go to preparewithgraham.com, preparewithgraham.com. All right, so like I said, 4 hours before, something big happens. Form of protest, if you will. And AOC, Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, yeah.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Almost forgot who she was.
Yeah.
Comes out on Twitter. All right, because, you know, that's what millennials do. When they make major announcements that is against freaking protocol of the history of our country, you make that major announcement on Twitter. That's what you do. I don't think that they'll let her do a video announcement of things.
Anymore.
I think that her whatever,
Twitter only.
they won't let her do it. They're like, there's no way you can talk about this.
Yeah.
You need to write it down. We're going to review it, and then we will post it.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
She says that because everything is so wrong of what's going on in our country, that she is not going to attend the State of the Union.
So brave.
So brave. So there were 2 open seats because everybody gets to bring a guest, right? So I immediately interpret that for what it really meant. Nothing screams woke millennial more than saying, I know I was elected to do a job, and that job has certain duties attached to it that I may have to do even if I don't want to do it. But because I'm so woke, I'm just not going to do my job.
Yeah.
Right.
And all these mindless, brainless people that love AOC.
I did not realize she has like
her for
4.2 million followers. I didn't know that until last night. And then I looked at Graham. I said, that is terrifying.
I bet you a big chunk are just people like us.
Idiots.
People like us that follow her to see all the stuff she
I hope
puts.
so.
You know?
That's terrifying.
Well, anyway, so yes, This to me just shows even more the bigger problem I have with AOC is this. You are, in a nutshell, representing everything that I think is wrong with the current society, which is this, if you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it mentality, even though you're an elected, paid official by our taxes to do your job and stand there as a representation for the people of the district of which you come from.
Yeah.
You don't get to say, oh, I just don't like the president. I don't want to
What
go.
other job could you do that? Like, I don't like my boss. I'm just not
Nothing.
going to
not
this
gonna do it.
meeting.
And it's
Nothing.
not even about, it's the president of the United States. And that's what I tell Graham. I don't care if you're Democrat or I don't care. Like, he is the president.
Yeah.
Show respect.
Let's
This is
put-
just a sign of respect.
Let's break it down on a relatable level. Okay, your boss who you don't like. How many people don't like their boss? A lot.
I don't like mine.
Wow. Did you hear that, everybody? She calls me her boss. Just putting it out there. I
Boss
didn't
man.
say that.
You didn't say it.
Alyssa said I was her boss. Anyway, a lot of people don't like their boss. But to put it in terms people can understand, your boss says at this time we're going to have a company meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, well, because I don't like you, I'm not going.
Yeah.
In a real job, you get fired.
Yeah.
for that
Especially if
kind
you're
of
like
thing.
a manager, they may let like
Yeah.
a bag boy. I don't know, somebody a little lower.
No, they won't.
Okay,
You-
they may be
your
sick.
mama better have died.
But if
I'm
you're like a
telling you,
manager-
no, I'm being for real. Like, you can't just get out of
Right.
stuff. Like, that's not
Right.
how the real world works.
But especially if you're in a leadership position,
Mhm.
which
And,
she is.
and we
Right.
we are these people that are these elected officials that are supposed to represent the people of the district that they come from. That they're just proving every single day that they just don't understand how the real world works.
She could have done what Talib and Omar did.
Oh, don't get me
Just-
started on
just
them,
get on
too.
your phone.
Oh
Or
my
talk
God!
to
each other through the whole
We're gonna
thing.
get into
Don't
that
stand,
here
don't
in a
clap.
minute. All right. So on comes the State of the Union.
Mhm.
Okay. So you know, everybody's walking in, all their guests. A lot of the Democratic women are
Wear
wearing white
white.
again. What is that about? Do
I
you
thought
know
it
what
It's
that's
in
about?
solidarity
Yeah.
or something.
For
Feminist.
what?
I thought it was a
Feminism
feminist.
and-
Yeah, we wear white.
On sheer
Pelosi
optics
did as well.
alone,
So brave.
everyone knows that the Democratic Party was responsible for the KKK.
Yeah.
Why would you choose to wear all white all the time? I'm not saying that that's KKK stuff. In fact, I know it's not because they're too stupid to do anyway. But the point is, a party that is linked directly to the KKK,
Mhm.
why would you choose to wear all white?
Pure, maybe.
And
intentional.
the other thing is when he's saying all these accomplishments in the black community, they sit there
They
and
didn't
don't
move.
cheer.
Yeah.
They do.
like,
Yeah, it
All
was
right.
ridiculous.
So let's walk through from the second the president walks in.
Ah,
All right, from the second the president walks in, we'll talk about the pros and the cons of everything. Okay, so the second he walks in, immediately chants start happening of four more years.
Mhm.
All right, which I thought was amazing. Okay,
That's cool.
obviously it was very Republican sided that those chants were happening. But anyway, so Trump gets up to the podium, and a lot of people immediately notice the fact when he goes to hand the speeches to the speaker and the vice president, which is customary.
Mhm.
President hands his speeches to them. Pelosi reaches out her hand, and Trump just
Says, here you go.
completely. It was kind of a handoff turn thing.
I know. I
It
can't
wasn't-
decide.
It
if he
wasn't a
didn't see
blatant
it.
like he saw her hand and just looked at her and shook his head no and turned around. So a lot of people are like, "Ugh, Trump is so horrible. He disrespected Nancy Pelosi like that." Blah 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 blah. But what a lot of people also don't realize, Pelosi disrespected and broke protocol first.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did she do that, Graham? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, imagine somebody at your work, you know, that tries to get you fired and
Exactly.
fails, and then they reach out to shake your hand. It's
But
like,
I
"No,
also
thanks."
really, truly, like, that's a lot going on. When we watched it back, I really don't know if he did that intentionally. So I'm still going to stick up that he was.
I think he did.
respectful.
It's
You
like
think he
watching a
did?
Yeah.
replay on football in slow motion, and you're like, well, obviously that was a delay of game. But in real life, it was like split second kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, Trump may have had that happen, but Nancy Pelosi also broke protocol. 50-50 chance at best he didn't shake her hand intentionally.
Right.
He also didn't shake Mike Pence's hand.
Right.
Okay, so 50-50 shot he even saw her reach out
Yeah.
for her hand. And on
And I'm
a
sure he
side
wouldn't
note,
expect that too.
yeah.
I mean,
Why would he expect for
to
her to
shake
shake
his
his
hand.
hand? She's trying to impeach him.
Yeah.
Like as we speak. So he probably literally just handed it to her and turned. If he had shook Pence's hand, then I could understand, why people were saying that. But here's where Pelosi, like a 50-50 shot, president did it maliciously.
Right.
Pelosi then goes and breaks protocol maliciously on purpose against the president. It is custom to announce the president as the Speaker of the House, not law per se, but it is custom protocol to say it is my honor and privilege to announce the president of the United States.
Right.
Well, she just goes, Congress, the president of the United States.
Yeah.
What a...
Yeah.
My Christianity's being...
She makes it tough.
Man, if there's ever people that deserve the word, it would be Nancy Pelosi. But either way, all right, so that's the first little tensious stuff that happens there. It was hard for me to watch, and there's a lot of people that posted pictures of them putting like a blanket
over.
a
Yes,
towel
that was so funny.
to cut her out because her she knows the camera is directly on her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
She knows it because that's the shot. The shot is the president, vice president, Speaker of the House behind him. That's the shot.
She knows she looks like a crackhead, too, so it's distracting.
It was
Yeah.
distracting. Those
Keep focused.
dentures,
Oh my
like,
God.
stop doing your
grinding her
teeth.
teeth.
This woman's worth millions of dollars. Can you not fix your mouth? I mean, I'm just being, I'm not trying to be mean at this point. I'm asking legitimately. Do we not have advances in dental
Maybe it's her like
technology
nervous,
enough?
like picking a nail. Maybe it's like her nervous.
Well, she was
tick.
talking to herself, repeating all the stuff he was saying.
You ever seen that
Shaking her
movie
head.
Legion? You ever seen that movie?
The zombie one?
No.
No, it's like,
the
they
guy
take
comes
over,
in,
like-
Gabriel, comes in, the archangel,
No.
and like demons are taking over. They're at a diner, and there's this old woman in the diner, and she's like possessed by a demon, and a girl comes up, gives her the plate. She's pregnant, and she goes, oh, your baby's going to burn.
We
Like
used that in Rant Nation before.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
we did.
it. Dude, all them babies are going to burn. And it reminds me of Nancy Pelosi so much. If you
Graham.
haven't seen that movie, go watch that diner scene. And you'll be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's Nancy Pelosi. Anyway, she's fidgeting with her teeth. She's gnawing away her lips. She looks like a crack addict.
She's
kinda
just
thing.
blatantly disrespectful. is what
Rolls
I
her
told son.
eyes and all this stuff.
And keeps looking to somebody. She had somebody in the audience she would kind of look
She's
to.
probably looking at
like,
Schumer.
Smile
She's
or
probably
like,
looking at Schumer
no, that's
because
not
her
right.
and Schumer are like thick as thieves.
Or she was
man.
looking at the ghost that Schumer talked to the other day. Remember that?
Just a thing.
Talking to some invisible person.
All right. So Trump starts off pretty early on and he touts the economy.
Mhm.
All right. And rightfully so. The economy is booming. He even says a blue collar boom,
Yeah.
which was cool. And it was a huge standing ovation moment. But what's interesting is what the Democrats don't stand for.
Yeah.
And I don't get that. Like, even though you hate Trump, you can't argue the numbers, right?
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna read my list. Remember that?
Oh
post?
yeah, and we'll get to that too. But he talks about lowest unemployment overall in half a century.
Mhm.
That is true. Those are real numbers. Lowest black unemployment in the past 70 years.
Mhm.
Lowest Hispanic and Asian American employment ever. So he talks about all those things and rounds of applause throughout the entire building.
It's like a workout for those old folks.
I
That's
know.
what I said. Up, down, up, down. Worse
Except
than Catholic
for,
Church.
except for the Democrats.
Mhm.
They don't stand for that stuff. And what's
They
just
didn't stand for a lot of it.
well, I know, but specifically that
Right.
real numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And if you claim to want to put the American people into work, why would you not stand for that? That's just what I don't understand.
Well, they were talking about lowest black unemployment, and they showed Sheila Jackson Lee, and she's shaking her head. It's like, you don't like
You
that?
can't.
no, because they don't want black Americans to work.
Right.
That's what they,
They want
don't
them as
want.
their pets.
The Democrats do not care about black people. They
Right.
just don't. They don't care. They want them to be dependent. They want them
their
to
vote.
be victims. They want them to have this victimhood mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want. Candace Owens, all these people talk about it all the
The
time.
Democratic plantation.
It makes them so mad to know that somebody actually cares about black people enough to empower them to go get jobs and to work so they can
Opportunity
provide for
zones.
themselves.
Yeah.
They can't stand it. Either way, fast forward. there were some really heartfelt moments.
Oh my
man.
God!
In
It
the
was so good.
in the speech. Now, this is something I have never seen before. First of all, there was the Venezuelan
Real president.
the real president of Venezuela,
Juan Guaido.
There it is. Yep. And Donald Trump, it's kind of like a slap you in the face to Venezuela, acknowledged who the real leader is of Venezuela. And then he even throws it Venezuela is a warning sign to all of the
Absolutely.
world as to what socialism does. Venezuela 10, 12 years ago, man, it was the place to go. People wanted to go there all the time. People wanted to move. People wanted to take their businesses there. They wanted to go vacation there. And within 10 to 12 years, socialism has just destroyed that place. And Donald Trump uses it as an opportunity. God, I can't remember. It was something like socialism destroys countries, but freedom unites the soul or something.
Yeah, that sounds
something
right.
along that. I just butchered it. I don't remember that verbatim.
Well, it also makes it easier for dictators to take over, like Nicolas Maduro. The people are weakened through socialism.
But what was funny is they all stood, rightfully so, when he said, we're with you, Venezuela. Everyone stood for that. But it's like, that's what you're fighting for our country to be.
Yeah, but black people working in America, oh no, we're not standing for that. Let's see, what else happened? Oh, they had a mother and her daughter, who the daughter was, to this point so far, the youngest baby born
In America.
that survived.
She was 1 pound.
Yeah, she 1 pound. 1 pound.
And I believe she was 2 when they showed her.
Oh, she had, I mean, was it 2? Either way, she's a person, and there she is.
Beautiful.
Beautiful little girl. And so then he announces $50 million to neonatal research, which everybody applauded for that.
The mom screams.
The mom screams because she has in her arms proof that even the absolute smallest of us, they're people, and they deserve to have the rights to be fought for.
Yeah.
Those people. And then here's the part that President Trump then says that he this year is calling on Congress to end late-term abortions. Now, there's a lot of sway of what late term actually is to certain people, but I think it just further entrenches in the sand where Donald Trump stands on pro-life issues. And that's when things start to get a little tense. That's it kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, Congress is, democratically run, so a lot of this stuff isn't going anywhere. But at least we know where the president's
not right now.
Awareness.
Not for the next 10 months, at least.
Exactly.
Anyway, so that happened. Then we had this really cool moment of the young man that stood up, who was like in 4th grade or something like that.
He wanted to be in the Space Force.
Yeah, and his dream
kid.
was to go into the Space Force. And that was really cool. Childhood dreams coming true. The president even talked about school choice, which has been a really big talking point for a long time. I am pro school choice. I don't think that you should be required to go to a crappy school just because you live in a weird zoning part.
Right.
I think you should have the ability to. I think that if your school sucks, you shouldn't be a school. That's what I think.
Which helps the inner city kids that
all
don't have
the
options.
money should go to the schools that are actually doing a good
And it
job
sounds
to
like,
support
though, it's like
all these other people going there.
To my understanding, it was like a scholarship program, so you'd still have to
Well,
apply
yeah,
and
I mean,
stuff.
obviously there's going to have to be some infrastructure things put in place because, but the point is, the president is very pro homeschooling and he's very pro school choice, which is a big deal. Most people cheered for that. Then we had him honor the last, was it the last remaining or one of the last
Tuskegee
remaining?
Airmen?
Tuskegee
Yeah,
Airmen.
I think it was
the last one of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Tuskegee Airmen,
He
World
was
War II veteran.
World War II, Korean and
the
Vietnam.
great-grandpa of that 13-year-old.
The great-grandpa
Air
of the
Force.
kid that wants to be in the Space
He
Force.
promoted him to Brigadier General.
Brigadier General, which is a
Amazing.
1-star general, which is an amazing accomplishment. And that was a super amazing thing.
I felt bad. I kept saying, you don't have to stand up again.
I know.
It's like
just
a third time.
Don't
Like,
go stand up.
You're good. You're good.
Most everyone
But it was awesome.
stood and clapped for that
Yes.
one. Of all
How
the
can you
things,
not?
well, of all the things that we seem to disagree on, The one thing that congressmen and women and senators know that they can't get away with is not standing for a military service.
Yeah, absolutely.
The surprise, the guy who came home and surprised
there was
his
a
family.
really touching moment. Donald Trump, in the middle of a State of the Union, reunited a family of a service member that was deployed. I have never seen that before. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying I haven't seen it.
And they were so surprised. You could tell, like, the mom and the kid truly had no idea it was going to happen. And those reunions always get me.
And we have to remember that the State of the Unions throughout time have kind of been those kind of events where you get people like that. It's not all a show, obviously, but a lot of it is, to make yourself look.
Reminding what we have done.
Reminding what you've done, and kind of a show.
I think, it is and it isn't, right? So to put context, there's a lot of it's possibles that get thrown at you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when I met the president, I didn't know 100% it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I knew there was a possibility that it might, but I didn't know until right before that this is happening. Yeah. So, obviously, that wife and those kids were there. Mm-hmm. So there had to have been something that's like, hey, there's a possibility that he might make it back there, but we don't know, kind of thing. I think it was kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. She was shaken, so she had to know.
Like, everyone stood for that as well.
Mm-hmm. But let's talk about another really fine moment, and I want to backtrack just a little bit and talk about just the insanity that's been going on beforehand. So Rush Limbaugh was a guest.
Mm-hmm. And I have to throw out that I actually got to meet him at SAS.
I've met him twice now.
And he was wonderful. And so, I don't know. Yeah, this whole thing just kind of hit.
So just the other day, Rush Limbaugh announces that he's got stage 4 lung cancer. Not a great diagnosis. It is beatable. A lot of people have beat it. Stage 4 is not a death sentence anymore like it used to be.
Yeah.
However, I will say, just from a personal standpoint, Rush's health is not the best. It has not been the best for many, many, many years.
It's tough,
so it's going to be a tough battle for him. God works a lot of miracles. So, I believe that he can beat it, man.
Yeah, praying for him.
But the vicious, horrific things that I saw of people excited that Rush Limbaugh had cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely it just reminds you how horrible that there are just some people that just, in my opinion, don't deserve to be here, man. I mean, people that would say stuff like that.
Yeah.
No matter what, just because you disagree with a person politically, you are celebrating his stage 4 cancer diagnosis.
Like,
again,
you're a
that
great
goes
human.
Between, like, grieving, how we talked about. But everyone like, you would never celebrate, I feel like, someone's health declining or if their kid got sick. Like, those are just things that are off limits to me.
Well, it used to be.
Well, it used to be. That shows our society state, though.
Well, when the Democrats say impeach the MFer and all this kind of stuff, and they brainwash their constituents into thinking Trump's literally Hitler.
Yeah.
Their brain literally changes, and they say things like that because, Russia's literally Hitler.
That's
Trump's
how
literally
you go
Hitler.
A bigot and a Nazi.
Well, it's kind of how you go to just
like me, apparently.
Evil. It's not fighting a person; we're just fighting evil, and that's how it gets in there. This is just evil. So
anyway, so Trump announces that he's awarding Rush the Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian honor that you can receive.
His face.
And then that was a great moment, but now let's fast forward a little bit. AOC says that she's not attending, she's going to do a live Instagram feed.
So she's still watching?
Yeah, so she's still watching.
She did a Q&A.
She goes and rips that whole thing apart, basically saying that Rush Limbaugh is the worst of humanity, that he's a Nazi, a bigot, and that it was all staged and all planned, and how he faked that he was surprised and everything like this. That it's been news for a day that the president intends on doing the Medal of Freedom. Now, she's not wrong there, okay? That has been news, but it goes back to what I said earlier. I think Rush knew that the president was considering giving him the Medal of Freedom. I don't think he had any clue that he got it already and that he would get it.
Can I just say this too? Put any one of us in that situation, even if I knew a year out and I am there in that moment and it's actually happening, I would probably do the exact same thing, even if I knew.
It just shows, again, the detachment of AOC from the real world and real emotions of real people.
Yeah.
She's just a evil, hate-filled girl is what she is. I know she's like 28 years old, but she behaves like a spoiled little girl. Anyway, all right. So get back into the State of the Union. Trump starts talking about his wins in the pharmaceutical world, how for the first time ever, we've had a drop in pharmaceutical drugs.
Pause there really quick, because I had a lot of people ask me what the women in white were chanting during that one when they just started throwing out chants.
3 something?
HR 3.
It was, yes. It was about lowering prescription drug costs, which they didn't clap, though, when he said he was doing that. Anyway, but that is, everybody's wanting to know what that was.
Well, that led to a moment of almost, up until that point, the most blatant disrespect, where they start chanting in protest in the middle of it. See, the only people that did it were the ones in white.
The women in white.
Yeah. See, I won't throw you out for making faces or talking to yourself, but if you start chanting,
should have thrown the whole group of them out.
Notice, though,
that's against the rules.
It was, though, because if you notice, the people in the back, and that's when they got quiet, because they were starting to be like, all right, well, you're done. And then they all sat down.
Yeah. So the speech continued to go on. Donald Trump was talking about more and more accomplishments. He talked about the fact that he would protect the Second Amendment, which is huge. Again, we point out all the time, our friends at Red Arrow Weapons in Virginia, they're fighting the ultimate attack against our Second Amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, support the people that support us. Go check out Red Arrow Weapons, because they're fighting this battle head on. But our president is behind them. And so are we. So make sure you show support there. And then it kept showing people like Rush Limbaugh, Tuskegee Airman, World War II veteran, getting up, getting down, or sitting down, getting up, sitting down over and over and over again. And then it would show Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib, 2 of the worst pieces of garbage. I'm sorry, they are. They are horrible, horrible women.
Agreed.
Sitting down, laughing, and on their phones. Literally on their phones. And it just, to me, that was a really powerful moment. A man that is a World War II veteran, and then a man who was just diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer can get up and down over and over and over again. Yeah. But the 2 young women, I guess you can call them, of color, are so blatantly disrespectful. To me, it's just a really, really big contrast of the society.
You said young, and that goes to show, like, even Schumer and Schiff and some of the career politicians on the left, they know the procedure. Exactly. And they stood up and
I don't like them, but clapped. It was a sign of respect.
Right,
like, we still respect the position. As Micah, our pastor, we honor the position. You don't have to agree, but we're going to honor that you have that position. Exactly. And there's just none of that.
And I can't remember who the girl was on the left with the purple dress on. Did you see her?
Sinema or something like that.
She stood up a lot.
Oh, she'll be crucified by the Democrats today.
And that's good. I mean, the party's tearing itself apart.
Anyway, so let's jump to because we're long-winded on this one. There's so much to talk about. Well, we're just trying to get the big hitters. Let's jump to what everybody's talking about today. So I'm going to read what Alyssa wanted me to. This is so those of you who don't know, if you're living under a rock, Nancy Pelosi, when Donald Trump ended his State of the Union, very publicly, very intentionally ripped up the president's speech.
Yeah, she held it up
behind
Make
him,
sure everybody could see it
for the cameras. So first of all, let's just put it in. What a classless, childish action that was.
Well, she was drunk. So.
Well, yeah, she was drunk.
Someone asked me about, was that a mini bar? What was her setup? And I was like, I don't know.
So the White House put this out. All right. And they said, Speaker Pelosi just ripped up the story of a Tuskegee Airman, a child receiving the opportunity to go to the school of her choice, the survival of a child born at 21 weeks, the mourning families of Rocky Jones and Kayla Mueller.
Yes, we forgot to say that.
A service member's reunion with his family. That is her legacy.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi ripped up a piece of history. That's what she did. She ripped up a piece of history. State of the Unions don't happen all the time, okay? There's not a whole lot of them in the grand scheme of things that happen within our government. That is a piece of history, and she ripped it up for nothing more than vile hatred towards a man that has beaten her at every single step.
And I think she was also trying to please AOC.
Yeah.
I know. All her constituents. Let me do this as a final.
I'm pretty sure it's a crime too. It's not a big crime.
You're not allowed to rip up and destroy government documents without approval.
It's like $2,000 or something.
It's a far stretch, but technically she did. To me, Nancy Pelosi, that action to me represents what I believe is the end of the Democratic Party as we know it currently.
Right.
Because it's a complete dumpster fire. The Democrats are literally on fire. Every single thing that they have tried to do for the past 3 years has backfired. They have lost. This impeachment today will be over. They will lose. It is not going to happen. Any hope, sliver of hope they had to even have a shot at beating Donald Trump in the election was obliterated last night in the 2 nights ago in the Iowa caucus disaster.
Yeah.
They can't even get a caucus right.
Hey, I'm sorry. Can I just brag on our president really quick? Because a lot of people don't like that he's pompous, and I hear that a lot. And I don't, I love what he's doing. I don't agree sometimes with his personality on things, but I will just say last night I was so proud of him because he didn't bring up anything about the impeachment. Right. And it honestly was an encouraging message for America, which I think was needed.
Right.
And I really was proud of him.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between Trump. Trump knows when, like any real adult, he knows when to turn it on correctly and be respectful and when to be a New Yorker. Right. His rallies, those are his rallies.
Right.
Crazy Nancy.
That's when Trump gets to be New York
a little more
Trump. I mean, because that's what he's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when Trump gets to be, hey, I'm not taking no crap off nobody. But the State of the Union, Donald Trump understands, hey, this is a very sacred thing here. I am the president of the United States. This is a very sacred deal. There's just ethical things in place that you do and respect that you do and that you don't do. Anyway, Nancy Pelosi in that action represents everything that is wrong with the Democratic Party and represents, I believe, that her tearing that speech up literally destroyed the party as we know it. Come election day, I truly believe that it will be a Trump 2020 landslide, and I believe that we're taking back over the House and we're keeping the Senate. I think it's going to be a complete Republican-controlled government again because what has happened, especially in the past 6 months, with they are falling off the rails.
Well, and it's like you keep losing. I say, in quotation marks, losing. But instead of being respectful or maybe reassessing, like, oh, okay, a lot of American people are on board with this or that, you just keep throwing out now emotional hatred of things that don't even make what good. Truly, what good will that do for your party?
She thought it was the Constitution. That's why she ripped it up.
Yeah.
It was the ultimate sign of disrespect, and it's kind of like a fight. In a fight where one of the fighters is just losing and the fight is over, and then they get desperate and they start throwing wild haymakers, and it was going to go to decision, but now it's a knockout because they just start throwing wild punches and then they get caught in the jaw. That's what's happening right now.
That's a good analogy.
They are beat. It would go to decision. The decision is the election in November. But now they're just so desperate, and they know that they're beaten, that they're just throwing wild punches now.
And they're also not anything like the Democratic Party was a few years ago.
No,
it's changed
JFK would be a Republican.
Bill Clinton would be a Republican.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. The Democratic Party has shifted so far left. Again, I think this is the end of the party. I think that this is the beginning of the true reign of your AOCs. 10, 15 years from now, AOC will be the Pelosi one day. When the Democrats eventually take back over, because they will. That's how it works. This election, Donald Trump's going to win it again, but eventually there will be another Democratic president and a Democratic House, because that's just how history goes.
Yeah.
I think AOC will be Speaker of the House one day.
That's terrifying.
I don't think so.
I do. I do. That or vice
get
president.
Elected again.
I do.
I hope
I think that's where we're headed. But right now, Donald Trump is winning. Donald Trump is destroying the Democratic agenda. He's won on every single front that you can imagine. He has succeeded. Even the people that hated Donald Trump have, well, not all of them. A lot of them has said under every measure, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, Donald Trump is a extremely successful president.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In fact, I have one of my really good friends literally just told me that her mother said, you know what, I can't argue that he is winning on a lot of these fronts, but I just cannot because I don't like him as a person.
And that is, that person is an idiot. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
If you willingly admit that this president is doing a fantastic job for the country, but you just can't vote for him because you don't like him, you
don't care enough about your country.
You are a moron and you hate America.
But I feel like that's a lot of people in America. Yeah, right. I concede he's winning on unemployment and all these things, but I really hate the guy, so I can't vote for him.
And those people are morons.
Yeah.
Those
what
people
do you
are
want
morons.
more?
If Obama had done what Trump was doing, I'd have been like, you know what?
I have to admit,
I'm not a Democrat, but he's doing a good job for the country, so I got to support that. You know.
Speaking of healthcare, he brought some of that up, and I think that's going to be a huge part of this election cycle for sure.
I agree.
I think so, but again, I think that.
And I just want to say this too before we get pounded on this. If it was a Republican that had done that, say we're still in Obama time and a Republican like Nancy had done that, I'd be just as upset with our party.
Yeah.
Like it's a sign of respect to me. And again, I don't care what affiliation you're going with.
I would be talking bad about any Republican that did that. Yeah. And so, you know, it's just like
Paul Ryan would never.
It's just, no. I am very much respect driven, whether you agree with it or not. And there's just certain things that you just don't do for respect wise.
That's why we have respect for Tulsi Gabbard, because she's honest. She loves her country. She fought for her country.
Right.
We may disagree on
I think she's dumb on a lot of things, but I think she legitimately cares about America, misguided or not.
And I think she's honest.
Yeah, and she's honest. And I'll take an honest person that I disagree with any day.
Absolutely.
Unlike Elizabeth Warren, who preaches about climate change and then gets off the private jet.
I saw that and then hides behind it. Oh gosh, they can't see me.
Oh
my gosh.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much the recap of the State of the Union last night. Today is the day. Impeachment will end today. So today, in my opinion, will mark the start of the Trump 2020 landslide in November. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. We're excited to do more of these rapid response type podcasts because I just really enjoy those. And I like to try to break it down. So I understand it, and I think that most people seem to like that. So thank you guys so much for listening. Yeah. Tell one person about the Dear America podcast. Subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review. It helps us in the rankings. Alyssa, where can they find you?
Alyssa Allen on Instagram.
Jake?
Producer_Jake.
And of course, dadgummit. I do that all the time. Do it one more time. Jake, where can they find you?
Producer_Jake on Instagram.
There it is.
And of course, I am Graham Allen. That's all for this episode of the Dear America podcast. And we'll see you all again next time.
Bye.